But basically, I just wanted to say I too am rather sick of all of these anti-feminist response videos all over YouTube and all of these channels that have gained momentum and so much popularity and get so many thousands of subscribers just because they are making response videos to other feminists on YouTube. Instead of coming up with their own content, they're just responding. It's just response videos. It's absolutely asinine. And there's really little thought and little creativity put into it. There's little examination of the subject of feminism. It's just kind of a response to what somebody is saying. Why can't people delve deep into the philosophy of feminism and kind of examine why is feminism irrational? Why is it something that's not logical? And the reason why is because it's not rooted in evidence and biology. And people don't go down that path. Because feminism, at its basic core, is like egalitarianism. It's this idea that everybody is equal. Everybody's the same. Men and women are the same. There's no such thing as gender. There's no such thing as race. All races are the same. Gender's the same. All cultures are the same. It's basically this idea that everybody's the same, and the only thing that makes us different is society. That gender, race, culture, these are all social constructs instead of actual biological constructs. And I don't see people really going down that path and attacking the root of feminism. The root is this pseudo-scientific idea that everything's the same and that we're all different because of society, not because of the genes that make us up, the biology, and that gender also is something that's rooted in our biology. And if you're going to say that men and women are different, there are differences between the genders, then you're going to also have to go down the path that there are differences between the races, there are differences between cultures, and you're going to have to examine those and admit that there are some qualities that are better and things that one gender does better than another. You're going to have to address all that too. So please, instead of all of these response videos, discuss the underlying biology. I just wish people would do that instead. And you know, the truth is, we aren't the same. Men and women are different. We have different IQ scores on average. We have different hormones coursing through our bodies that make us act differently than each other, behave differently. And see, feminists want to say everybody is the same. They want to say men and women are the same. There are no differences between men and women. And thus, we should not have different standards. All right, so I wanted to actually read to you something I wrote instead of just ranting this whole time. So anyway, this is what I wrote about feminism, some of my thoughts. One of the problems many people have with feminism is the underlying idea that comes with it. It's this idea that men and women are basically the same and that a woman should be treated exactly as a man is treated. We see this manifested when a man opens the door for a woman and not necessarily for another man. A true feminist might get angry because she is being treated differently solely due to her gender and not for any other reason. Also, feminists assume that there has been historic, institutional, and systematic oppression of women, and this continues even in today's society. Those opposed to feminist ideas say, no, in current Western society, you as a woman are not discriminated against or oppressed. So you just need to stop whining about it. Unless you are concerned about the welfare of women in other countries and non-Western third world countries that have not been erected by white males, then you might have a point. I think what ultimately needs to be discussed is the philosophy that underlies feminism. You notice how anti-feminists attack feminism ad infinitum. But what about the underlying philosophy that gives rise to the idea of feminism in the first place? This underlying philosophy is one that says everyone is exactly the same at a fundamental level, and that there is no such thing as race, that there is no such thing as culture, that there is no such thing as gender. All of those things are simply social constructs that came from society and not from biology. Feminism then latches on to this idea that there are no major biological differences between the genders, and thus women should be treated no differently than a man. Thus, when feminists see women depicted differently than men, say a man is given a strong leadership role in a video game and a woman is given a more demure, submissive role, or one that readily displays her sexuality and thus reproductive capacity, the feminists will notice this difference immediately. Because remember, according to feminists, men and women are interchangeable. And because there are no major distinctions between the genders or between men and women should not be depicted as having different attributes or different qualities, different roles than that of a man or than men. Biology would seem to suggest that there are indeed differences between men and women. Yet, from a feminist perspective, I would guess that they would view any differences that exist between men and women as social constructs, as something that was ultimately created by society or by environmental influences, by forces outside the individual and not forces acting within the individual, such as the genes of the individual or the biology of the individual. Next, a feminist would say that any differences arising between the sexes would be due to sexism, oppression, patriarchy, society, or white males. From a feminist perspective, even racial differences would be attributed to the environment. Thus, the idea of race would be regarded as a social construct instead of a biological one. Any differences between the races could then be regarded as caused by environment, or if negative, by one race oppressing another race. So my biggest problem with feminism is the underlying philosophy. It's this idea that says everybody is the same, men, women are the same, all races are the same, all cultures are the same, that men and women are interchangeable, that one race is interchangeable with another race, that all humans are basically the same, when in fact we are different. Biology suggests that we're different. And society does have an impact. Your social, your environment, and that which surrounds you does have an impact. But really, 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 the biggest differences between men and women or between one culture and another, one race and another, it all boils down to biology. And so that is why I have a problem with feminism, is because it's irrational at its fundamental level.